going on, you beautiful people? Hope you're having a dope-ass day today. It's your boy Alex, and I'm back today with another reaction video, checking out some more Jordan Peterson.
Oh, is that so?
Guys, since I started this Jordan Peterson journey, this is one of the videos that y'all have been literally jamming down my fucking throat.
You're weird. You're a weird guy.
I make a Jordan Peterson reaction, I see requests for this specific interview, Africa Brooke, Michaela Peterson, I guess Jordan Peterson's daughter, and Jordan Peterson himself.
Essentially.
Africa Brooke, I looked up, she is a consultant that helps entrepreneurs, public figures, business personnel, so I don't really know what to expect here. Let's go, man.
I had an experience in relation to you years before where I had made a firm decision that I would never in my life listen to anything this man has to say. Based on a 3-minute clip, mind you.
Do you remember what it was that I said that was so profoundly irritating? I mean, there's
do,
many.
Jordan.
Can you tell me what that was?
Of course. You were talking about the gender pay gap. And this was part of a longer interview, the interview that you had with Kathy Newman. And this was a clip, 3-minute clip.
Fantastic interview.
I'm just trying to work that out. I mean,
Oh, darkness, my old friend.
It's entertaining for sure, but there are so many good points in there that really made me question and think about the gender pay gap and my perspective on it.
You were talking about the gender pay gap, and you were saying that, paraphrasing here, but that the reason for most women is because most women are agreeable, most women don't negotiate, etc., etc. I believe that was essentially giving people options as to why it could be that there's this thing that exists or doesn't exist. And I didn't even finish the clip. I didn't even finish the 3-minute clip. But based on the things that another out of context clip that I had seen before, and the way that I'd heard your name being spoken of before in the context of the trans conversation that was happening around that time, 2018. Right, exactly. Again, I was watching this clip, and it's almost like I wasn't even listening to what you were saying. I had already decided that I don't like this man. Because someone that
is such a common thing in today's day and age, right? And I noticed that in some of my family members, honestly, a lot in friends, even more in acquaintances. It's like they're not even listening to what you're saying. They're thinking about what they're going to say next. They've already made up their mind about something. To the point where if you're trying to have a constructive dialogue, it does nobody justice whatsoever because that person's not listening. They've already made up their mind. They're saying, I don't like this person and I'm going to work backwards to find reasons why I don't like them, rather than listening to what that person has to say and then making a qualified, informed decision whether you like that person or not. I'm guilty of it myself, right? But the self-awareness is key, I think. Understanding that people do that, making it a conscious decision to try to actively not do that. Good for her for pointing that out there first and foremost.
I trust has told me that I shouldn't like him. So therefore, the decision is made. Why do I even have to finish that video?
Right.
And it was just, right? And it was just normal.
Well, we use heuristics like that all the time, and
Yes.
it's easy to get caught up in them because...
What is heuristics? Something I don't know. Heuristics. Heuristics are mental shortcuts that can facilitate problem solving, reduce cognitive load, and can be effective for making immediate judgments. However, they often result in irrational or inaccurate conclusions. Super interesting. Whenever I don't know something, I look it up.
You're a fucking nerd. And no one likes you.
I think we're all better off now.
Because, you can't listen to everyone.
yeah.
And so you kind of have to make a snap judgment about almost everyone. And the default is you don't listen because there's like 7 billion people. So obviously you're not listening to most of them. So you don't need much of an excuse. And it's really easy for that to get... And I mean, it's not like I haven't experienced that. Like, on my podcast, I invite people on. Abigail Schreier, for example, she wrote, I don't remember the name of her most recent book, but it's a investigation into the downside of the rush to make everything gender fluid, essentially. And I was terrified when I had her on. I mean, I was in rather ill health at irreversible damage. Yeah,
That's the one.
I want to have Andy Ngo on my podcast, but that also makes me nervous too. And because he's tarred with the fascist brush, and then it's guilt by association, and that might have been part of what you were feeling. So so you think, well, you need a simplifying heuristic, and part of that is, that most people aren't worth listening to, and he's definitely not worth listening to. And,
Right.
And then that can so easily become politicized. And once it
100%.
is, especially when the political has become religious, it's really, really hard to overcome that.
Yeah.
It seems like everybody that gets triggered, all the snowflakes, we're not talking about right or left, we're talking about snowflakes, people that get triggered by things that they shouldn't get triggered by. It seems like they group all of these crazy ass topics, religion, politics, they group it all together so that they can just be as offended as possible. It doesn't make sense to me. I really don't get it.
Is.
You know, a lot of the things that the radical left are pointing out are in some sense universal human failings. And so they have that truth about them. I mean, because we could ask ourselves, given the implicit tendency for human beings to have a pronounced in-group preference and the potential we have for violence against out-group members, how do we all address our proclivity to damn the foreigner? Okay, that's a really important question.
I feel like I've got a good answer.
Okay,
to that.
let me add the one end to that. And then the next thing is, well, we all have these proclivities. How are they exacerbated by power and privilege?
I want to know more about Jordan Peterson's daughter. I feel like I want to know what the product of Jordan Peterson being your dad is. I mean, she's barely said any words, but I'm intrigued as to who she is as a person and her mannerisms and her mindset and her drive and her personality. I'm super interested in that.
Right? Those are good questions. But as soon as we make it instantly racist, well, then we can't even ask the damn questions properly anymore. So, Mick, sorry.
My joke is over now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I stomped all over your timely joke.
You stomped all over my tiny little joke. I was thinking about that question earlier, though. If everyone has these tendencies, which they certainly do, I've noticed that if I have a guest on my podcast, and I think my audience is fairly open-minded, but then I'll have a guest on that, and they'll hate them. And they'll be like, well, you can't just, even if you don't agree with them, maybe they are wrong, but like, you can't just cancel people because they don't agree with you because you're doing exactly the same thing.
But it happens every single fucking day.
Maybe your stupid opinions aren't right. They're probably not right. And like, are you so sure your life is going so much the way you want it to go, and you're such a bloody paragon of virtue, and the light is shining out every orifice, that everything you think and say is correct, and everyone who disabuses you of your notions is evil? You're really so sure of that, are you? So
That's
you wander around and
100%
think,
right.
God, maybe I should.
Even I'm super guilty of that too, dude. Because in my mind, and this is me being transparent and honest with y'all, I'm like, I know better than the next person. But at the same time, I'm like, dude, I don't know anything. I'm a student of this shit every single day. Whether it's my career, whether it's YouTube, whether it's content, social media, marketing, doesn't matter. I'm learning things every day. So it's weird towing that line between I know everything better than everybody else and I don't know anything at all. So funny how that plays out in civilization.
Listen to this person because I'm such an ignorant bastard and I'm so full of malevolence, and maybe they'll drop one thing on me that won't make me like miserable and doomed to hell and to drag everyone else there. Yeah, well.
You know, I felt something similar when I finally leaned into listening to you properly, because what was interesting, even after that moment in 2018, watching that 3-minute clip, deciding this man is evil, I want nothing to do with him ever again. And of course, I didn't think I would ever have anything to do with him.
Yeah, look what happened.
Infiltrated, yeah.
Right? People especially people that were not really connected to the digital world, a lot of older men in my life, for example, and women in my life would always tell me to read your book. It's honestly, people would always say to me, Africa, you will really love this book. I would have friends of mine send me lectures. I think you're really going to like this. And I would just completely ignore it. And in my mind, I'd be thinking, what am I going to find? What am I supposed to like? Because again, I have this idea
preconceived notion
in my head. So I'm finding it very confusing that people that know me very well are telling me that there's something that I'm going to like, right?
Yeah, what the hell?
Very confusing. But again, for years, what the hell? For years, I ignored it. So when I started watching your lectures late 2019 and last summer as well, in the beginning, I could notice myself listening to you and waiting for a moment where I could say, aha, see?
Right.
I knew I was right. And you
That's that backwards thinking, right? She's made up her mind and she's looking at any possible aspect of this guy's personality or speech that she can point as the justification for that conclusion, instead of listening to what he has to say and then forming the conclusion, right? It's something that people don't really think about, but whenever you take a step back and look at the forest rather than the trees, it's something that's really easy to tell that is happening, almost conversation in, conversation out, right?
I waited. That moment never came. That moment never came.
That
And
comes
that's
for me
right?
all the time.
Really. And that again, so it's like there wasn't one moment of being awake and then it's done. So many little, tiny, seemingly insignificant moments where I'm just sitting here by my sofa, just watching and listening, observing myself, waiting, for that confirmation that I'm right. And then it never coming. And then I have to deal with that. And then so again, my curiosity, I finally allowed myself to be curious again. And now, Jordan, I can say you have been one of the most influential people to me for so many reasons I couldn't even mention right now. But to be able to have the conversations that I do now publicly, you have, and I could have never imagined this ever in my entire life. Things like this don't just happen. And the fact that I can tell you this.
Oh no.
Thank you. Just thank you.
Oh my God, dude.
You got him.
It's a pleasure. It's a rough pleasure, but
I know.
you knew what happened to me with Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
That was something. It's really something to see yourself portrayed. I got accused of being a Nazi pretty much when all this happened. It was really something because I had been teaching students what we're talking about today, about these temptations that you faced and how people, as individuals, get sucked into that totalitarian hell. And then, so that was something for that to happen, such a reversal. And then to have that comic book come out, well, it was surreal. It was absolutely surreal to be portrayed, because Nazi wasn't enough, right? We had to go right for the archetype itself. So I think we've raised about $400,000 for charity now on the basis of that. So that was a fun reversal. But
I don't have any idea what is happening with Marvel and Jordan Peterson. I don't know what the hell's going on. Drop some comments down below, please. I need to know. I've been doing Marvel Mondays. What the hell's going on?
But it was really shocking when I first saw that. I just couldn't believe it. I was very ill at the time, too. I thought, this can't be real. This has to be Photoshop. This cannot possibly be happening. It's so completely beyond comprehension. And, to come from the pen of one of the foremost black intellectuals. And I use the racial category only because that's the categories that he's using to operate within.
Yeah.
So
life is really weird.
This is true.
Right.
This is true. As this whole conversation illustrates.
Dude, that was actually like a beautiful thing to watch. Like, honestly, really kind of got at me a little bit. I have Jordan Peterson's book. I still need to read it. He's a human, man. And in my mind, everything that I've seen from Jordan Peterson, he's done nothing but tried to help people. A lot of people, like he said, get caught up in this totalitarian bullshit where they have already made up their mind about him. And it's super tragic to see him fall victim to that. With this Marvel thing, I don't even know what that's about. I don't even know anything about his personal life, his past, his drug abuse, his illnesses, his sickness. I don't know anything about it. I just know that the value that he's provided to me as a listener. So to see, one, that video was extremely wholesome. From Africa's perspective, one, kind of stating, hey, I didn't like you at first and I had no reason to, and then I started listening to you and you made such an influential impact. I'm not sure if that's redundant. It takes a lot of character. It takes a lot of humility to do that. And Jordan's response was just so empathetic and real and human. It tears me up that he has gotten so much hate at the end of the day for providing so much value. It doesn't really compute or make sense to me. At the end of the day, man, we're all people. Left, right, black, white, blue, pink, doesn't matter. We're all people. We all have feelings. absolutely love Jordan Peterson. The more I see this guy, the more I absolutely love him. So let me know if you have that same experience too. And with that being said, that's where you guys come in. Drop some comments down below. Please let me know what you think about Jordan Peterson, Africa's podcast, and that video in general. And with that being said, keep smiling, keep being yourself. Don't let anybody throw shade at you. If you were watching at this point in the video, hit that subscribe button. I love you so damn much. And again, don't let anybody throw shade at you. Love y'all. Peace.